Clashes between police and protesters killed 11 people in Baghdad on Saturday in a new flare-up of anti-government unrest as security forces deployed in their hundreds to keep demonstrations away from central squares in the Iraqi capital. The unrest is the deadliest Iraq has seen since the declared defeat of Islamic State in 2017 and has shaken Prime Minister Abdul Mahdi's year-old government. Reuters reports that in eastern Baghdad, police snipers shot at demonstrators and several people were wounded on Friday and Saturday. Iraq's semi-official High Commission for Human Rights, in unverified figures, put the toll at 94 dead since protests broke out on Tuesday. Security services said the violence killed 8 members of the security forces and wounded more than 1,000. According to police, at least 18 people were killed during the week in the southern city of Nasiriyah, where police fired live rounds at demonstrators and protesters torched the headquarters of several political parties in the city. These included the headquarters of the powerful Dawa party that dominated Iraq's government from 2003 until the 2018 elections. Khury Petersen-Smith is Middle East specialist for the Institute for Policy Studies. He says the problem in Iraq is not limited to that country and are rooted in the U.S. invasion of that country.
Really, to understand this and the kind of corruption that Iraqis are protesting, we have to understand what has transpired in Iraq since the U.S. invasion in 2003, which not only involved a U.S. invasion and this incredible divide and rule of the population across sectarian lines, but also really installing and laying the foundation for all kinds of corruption in the government. And since then, the United States, even though its military presence is much smaller in Iraq, the amount of security assistance and military aid that the U.S. has given to Iraq is incredible. It's given many billions in military aid over the years, over $16 billion in aid since 2005, just in terms of military kind of security assistance.
If Iraq and Iran are allied at this time, and the United States is fighting basically with Iran, then we're giving billions to Iraq. Isn't that a bit self-defeating, or am I not looking at it right?
To understand that situation, we have to go back to what the U.S. was hoping to do with the launch of what they call the War on Terror and the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003 in particular. And the idea was really to reshape the Middle East and try to isolate Iran. And, folks will remember that actually John Bolton and others were quite clear that the plan was not to stop in Iraq, but that the U.S. would have a successful invasion of Iraq and then go on to invade Iran. And that has not only has that not worked out, but in fact, the Iraqi government has become quite close with the Iranian government in that there are forces in Iraq that are allied with Iran. And so there is this situation that the United States has had to accept because it really has not been able to get its way. So it is this complicated and contradictory situation. I think that what Iraqis are showing us is very clarifying. This is we can look at Iraq, the country. We can also look at the region, where throughout the region there's been this incredible heroic kind of mass protest. Folks remember the Arab Spring in 2011, in which we saw some protests in Iraq, but not on the scale that we saw elsewhere in the region. Subsequently, there have been mass waves of protests in Iraq. Both in 2016 was a huge wave in which people actually stormed the parliament, among other things. And this current wave of protests actually seems to be even more widespread, with more bitterness toward the whole political class and the generalized kind of corruption in the country. And again, the United States has a great deal to do with that corruption, as well as the repression that Iraqis are facing now. These are the weapons that the state is using to repress them were supplied by the United States. So this is something that is we should be concerned because this is an Iraqi fight for freedom in this country, and we should be concerned because, once again, the United States is on the wrong side. The United States, in many ways, has laid the foundation has played a big role in laying the foundation for what Iraqis are protesting against.
What do they want? What do Iraqis want out of this?
There's a number of things. So the government's incredibly corrupt. The economic situation is a nightmare, despite the fact that there's a tremendous amount of U.S. aid going to Iraq, despite the fact there's an incredible amount, of course, of oil wealth and other wealth in Iraq. And we've actually seen an increase in oil production in recent years, most Iraqis are not seeing any of that wealth for themselves, and so the economy remains very bad. And so, again, there are things that are specific to Iraq that people are protesting, and there's a particular situation of corruption that people really resent. But this does kind of resonate with what's happening throughout the region, where people are really struggling to get by economically and facing these very repressive states, and Iraq is no exception to that. So again, people want jobs, people want a stable society and country, and people want an end to the corruption. And then this thing is in motion, and frankly, the repression is fueling it. And so we will see what develops as Iraqis. More and more Iraqis get involved and fight for a different direction for their society.
Khury Petersen-Smith is Middle East specialist for the Institute for Policy Studies.